Hi, hello, my name is Gomer Joseph. I hope you've all been having a great day so far. Welcome back to another True Come Tuesdays video. If you are new, I welcome you, and I am so sorry that I have pretty much been on hiatus lately. Like, real life this summer has just really been so busy, and of course, I'm trying to go ahead and balance real life, this channel, and my other channel. Thank you all who are still, hanging with me, and of course, I just really wanted to make sure to get this video out today, and unfortunately, I will not be able to upload any new video next week, and that's really the same for my other channel. But in the next 2 weeks, I'll pretty much be back in the hang of things where I'm able to go ahead and balance everything in my life. Now, today I'll be discussing a requested case of the Amato family tragedy. As I researched this case, I found it to be extremely disturbing. The lives of these family members could have been spared. They lost their lives so senselessly because of someone's sick obsession. What's worse is that the reason why the members of this family lost their lives is because someone in their own family felt the need to take their lives. Now, I encourage you all to do your own research with this case and not just look at my video for all of the information. Here we go. I'll start by speaking about Chad Amato. Chad was born on July 26th of 1959, and unfortunately, I don't know much about him. I do know that Chad worked as a clinical pharmacist and that he loved football. He was a big fan of the college team, the Florida Gators, and he was married to a woman named Margaret Ann Amato, who was born on July 11th of 1957. What I know about Margaret Ann is that she was a senior operations manager, and she loved riding horses and even taught children how to ride horses. The two of them had two sons named Cody and Grant, and they were really close. Pretty much these two brothers were inseparable. They were even in the same weightlifting team as teenagers and just grew up participating in multiple activities. Now, Chad, from what I read, Chad had an older son named Jason. I believe it was from a previous relationship, is what I read, but then when I was like, looking further, like Jason referred to Margaret Ann as his mom, so that's what really confused me. But pretty much, I'm just gonna go ahead and state that since Jason did refer to Margaret Ann as his mother, then that's her son, and she was his mom. Grant and Cody had a desire to study nursing, and they both became nurses. So pretty much from what I gathered, the Amatos were, I would say, like a typical American family, but a pretty successful American family until their son Grant would involve himself in extremely dark, disturbing personal hobbies. In 2018, Grant was going downhill. He actually was suspended from his job for stealing medication, and what's really concerning is that he was improperly giving out medication to patients. Since Grant was terminated, he spent a lot of time at home instead of looking for a new job. Getting his life together. He was gaming at home, and not only was he, playing video games for hours ends, he also began watching X-rated content online. He kept watching to the point where he was obsessed with this cam girl from Bulgaria named Sylvie. Now, the best way I'm going to describe it, because I really don't like, spotlighting, other X-rated websites on my channel, because, of course, I'm a born-again Christian, and I don't really encourage anybody to watch that type of content. But Grant, he pretty much what he was watching, it was like, I would describe it as like an off-brand OnlyFans website where he had to, pay to watch this, very inappropriate content. Since Grant had to pay Sylvie, he would pay her to the point where she was earning $200,000 from him, and just even saying that out loud just burns my chest, because $200,000, that is a lot of money. And Grant, he did not spend this money by his own hard-earned cash. Again, he was jobless, and he didn't get this money from any sort of trust fund. So the only way that he was actually able to pay Sylvie was by stealing from his parents, his brother, and extended family members, all to see Sylvie. Of course, people, would regularly check into their bank accounts and they would notice that something is missing. And this is what happened to Grant's family. They found out that their money was missing and they confronted Grant about this. And of course, they find out what Grant is doing and they feel like the best option is to send him to rehab. So, of course, obviously they were angry at Grant, but they just really wanted him to get back on the right path. And as for his brother Cody, again, like these two were close. I'm pretty sure Cody didn't want to see his brother going down a dark path. So Cody, in order to, keep peace between the extended family, he was really willing to work hard to pay off his brother's debts to protect Grant, the brother that he loved and was so close with. This rehab program that Grant was supposed to be in was supposed to be for 2 months, but I am not sure what happened. But instead of staying in the program for 2 months, he was there for 2 weeks. So clearly, Grant is out of rehab, and really, there's no profession of faith that Grant has. So it's not like, he really wants to live his life for the Lord and actually, make these right decisions. So he's back home, and his parents are trying to go ahead and keep him on the straight and narrow. They ask Grant to apologize to the family who he stole from. They demand that he get a job, and they are absolutely adamant on keeping him away from the internet. Grant was not allowed to be on the internet, which meant that he was to not have any contact with Sylvie, despite the rules which were sent. Grant was able to convince his mother, Margaret Ann, to give him her phone and contacted Sylvie. And Grant's father, Chad, was not having it. He was absolutely fed up. And when he found out that his son did exactly what he was told not to do, he pretty much told Grant that he needed to leave the house. On January 25th of 2019, I haven't said it before, but the family was living in Chula Ota, Florida. And the unthinkable will be discovered in the Amato household. Coworkers of Cody noticed that he didn't show up to work, and it just wasn't like him to just not show up and not let anyone know. So the coworkers, they are concerned and they call the police, to do like a wellness check. So as the police arrive at the Amato house, they stumble across a horrific sight, finding Chad, Margaret Ann, and Cody. Unfortunately, these three were no longer alive. In fact, their lives were brutally taken. And as the police were searching through, they found out that there was no forced entry. Now, here's the thing. So, the oldest brother, Jason, he's out of town. So, of course, he wouldn't be in the house. But somebody was missing in the house. And that person who was missing was Grant. As the police look for Grant, they find him the next day at this hotel called the Double Tree. The police bring Grant in for questioning, and he informs the police about his family issues and informs the police about Sylvie. But yet, the police are pretty much giving Grant the side eye, and they believe that he was responsible for his family's demise. Now, they were trying to go ahead and get Grant to confess, but he was not budging. He was not going to admit to taking the lives of his family members. Since they couldn't get a confession out of him, they asked his older brother Jason, who again was out of town, to get Grant to confess. But unfortunately, despite Jason speaking with Grant, he wasn't able to get a confession out of him. After the interrogation, Grant would go to a local Panera Bread and typed in the top news stories. He would then proceed to, of course, to no surprise, contact Sylvie. And of course, he had to use money to see her. And from what I gathered, that money that was used from his father's bank account. And of course, it just means that you have to be a very sick man as to take your father's money while your father hasn't really even been buried yet, and use that money to see a girl who you do not even personally know. Shortly after all this, Grant was arrested and charged for taking the lives of his family members. This case is brought to trial, and of course, Sylvie is brought up, and it's also revealed that Grant placed a handgun near Cody's body to make it seem like Cody was the one who was responsible for what happened the day that he, Chad, and Margaret Ann lost their lives. And of course, like I just recently discussed, it was told in court that after losing their lives, Grant was actually able to unlock his father's phone and steal more money from him. And while at court, it did seem like Grant was just not emotional at all, except for when crime photos of his family members were shown, and when pictures of Sylvie were shown. Like, he really cannot keep his eyes off of her, which made it clear that he was literally obsessed with this lady. After everything is laid out in court, the jury make their decision, and Grant is found guilty for what he did to his family and sentenced to life in prison. I truly cannot imagine how Jason feels having members of his own family who he will never get to see again. They will never come back, and also pretty much losing a brother because that same brother is going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. And if Grant does not repent of his sins and trust in Jesus Christ alone to save him, then he will be punished for what he did to his family for all of eternity. From what I've gathered, Chad and Margaret Ann really only wanted best for their children. Sadly, one of their own children didn't want what was best for himself, which made him do what he did. I do pray for Jason and any loved one who is mourning the loss of Chad, Margaret Ann, and Cody. My prayer is that God would comfort these loved ones and that these loved ones would seek God in their mourning. I thank you all for taking the time in your day to watch this video. If you did like this video, please feel free to hit the like button. If you have any thoughts on this case at all, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you would like to see more videos from me, please feel free to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about the next video. If there's a certain true crime case that you would like me to cover, go ahead and let me know. I will see y'all for next True Crime Tuesdays, and I will talk to y'all later.